Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of the Path to DevOps series. I'm Shiki and I hope you had a great time off during this past holiday season and you had the time to recharge your batteries because today we're going straightforward and full force into Terraform infrastructure as code. Now, as a bit of a disclaimer, there is an astonishing amount of great technical channels out there which will explain Terraform way better than I can and I want to, which is why I would suggest to you that you go out there and search what Terraform is first, because today we're actually starting to work with Terraform and I'm not going to dive deep into explaining what it is and a lot of the high-level details. We're actually going to use Terraform today. So if you don't know what Terraform is, I strongly suggest you pause this video, you go and learn a bit about it, and then you come back and we do the follow along to create the resources we're going to create today. Now, this being said, let's jump straight into it. For a bit more context from the previous episode, we discussed that we're going to create a bunch of resources using Terraform as our infrastructure as code solution, and you can see the resources that we plan on creating on the screen here. However, for ease of understanding, we separated these resources into two subcategories. The first one being global resources, and the second one being environment-specific resources. Now, because today we're just getting started with Terraform and we want to get accustomed with using it and understanding what happens behind the scenes, we're actually going to create the global resources first because it's fewer resources and it gives us the opportunity of actually grasping what's happening behind the scenes. So that's what we're going to do now. For this exercise, I strongly suggest you follow along if you want to understand how Terraform is supposed to be used and to see the level of automation it offers. That being said, I will be linking the code we arrived to at the end of this session into my GitHub account, and you will be able to find it in the bottom of the description, so you can just take the full code and play with it as it goes. But I do strongly suggest you follow along with me in this session so that you write the code yourself and understand what goes where and what's happening. Now, in order to start, I created a new repository in my Azure DevOps project, as you can see here, and I added a few files that I'm going to explain right now. So as you can see, we are at the same exact files on the left-hand side, but right now I opened them in my IDE because it's easier for me to write code here. And we're going to start with git ignore. In here, I just ignored some Terraform files which I consider should not be uploaded to the source code management system, in our case Git. So we're not going to add the tf state. Yeah, if you learned about Terraform, you'll know that tf state is the file where Terraform will store what resources we deployed, the actual desired state of our infrastructure, and we don't want that in Git because it's a JSON file, plain text, and it will contain passwords if your infrastructure contains passwords. Then there are some other files that I don't want to talk about right now. Again, watch some other tech guys who will explain Terraform better than I can. But again, these are some binaries and some other files that you don't want uploaded into your Git source code management system. Okay, that's not the purpose of them. And then we have 4 native Terraform files, which, as you can see, are empty, and some of them just have some comments, so I can show you exactly what we need to create in there. But basically, they are empty, and we're going to write code inside of them together. Obviously, to make sure that you are able to run Terraform, you need to get an output like this when you type in Terraform. So make sure you have Terraform installed on your machine. That's pretty obvious, but I still want to mention this. You can find it online, or I'll just link it in the description down below. You can go to the direct link and download the version which aligns to your OS distribution. Now, that being said, let's start writing Terraform code. Okay, so everything that's .tf, Terraform will take into consideration, and I'm going to start with providers.tf. And as you can see here, there's a comment which says configure the Azure provider. As we're going to deploy Azure Resources, we need to tell Terraform that we are using Azure. So basically that's called a provider in Terraform, and we're telling Terraform, hey, I'm going to use this Azure provider, so you need to integrate with Azure Cloud somehow. In order to do this, it's pretty simple. I've already searched for this, yeah, and you search for Azure provider Terraform, you get the official page, and it says here, let me move myself so that you can see the button. You have use provider right here, yeah, and it gives you the code. I just copy this, yeah, let me move myself back up here. and I'll just paste it in providers.tf. And as you can see here, I'm just declaring a version of Azure RM and the source where I'm downloading this provider from. And in here, I just want it by default. So I'll say that I don't want any features at all. Okay. And I'll just save it. So basically, this is how providers.tf simply should look like in order for everything to be working. Yeah. Now that we have this up and running, what I want to do is I want to declare a variable here in variables.tf. And it doesn't matter, you don't know the syntax. The easiest way, you just go here and you search for variables. And I found an example here also on the official documentation. Yeah. And basically we have an example of a variable right here. So I'm going to copy and paste it in here. In my case, I'll call it environment. And type will be string, yeah, as you can see here. And I'm just going to say default equals global. Yeah, because we are creating global resources today, and I just want this variable to emphasize that. Yeah, our resources are going to be global. Okay, pretty simple, straightforward. Then in locals, now this is the place where I usually calculate stuff that I want to use in my resources. So for example, in here, I want to create 3 resources. As you've seen on the diagram earlier in the video, I'll be creating a resource group, and then inside that resource group, an Azure Container Registry, and then a DNS subdomain for my root domain, which is shiki.ro. And keeping that in mind, these 3 resources, when I create them, they will need names. And I somehow want to use this environment variable in the name generation process. So what I'm going to do is I'll go to locals and I will create 3 local names. Okay, so I'll just say rg underscore name, and then I'm going to say acr underscore name, and then I'm going to say DNS underscore name. Okay, for the resource group, I want it to contain the environment variable, yeah, which in this case is global. So I will do something like this, format. And the way you do this in Terraform is like this. Yeah, it's the same formatting as in C. So you basically give it 2 strings, yeah, string 1 and string 2, and they should be concatenated, and comma, and the first one will be var dot environment. Yeah, so I'm concatenating the environment variable, which has the value of global. So our resource group will be called global, and then I'm appending underscore rg to this name. Okay, so in the end, I hope for something that looks like this, global rg. Yeah, this would be the name I'm expecting. Okay, for the Azure Container Registry, unfortunately, I cannot use underscores or anything like that, and I wouldn't like it to contain the global string in the name. I want something simple, so I'm just going to say this is the name I'm giving to the Azure Container Registry. It's simple, it's easy to remember for me. And then for the DNS zone, as I said here, the DNS root domain is this one. So I need to name the zone I'm creating with this suffix, and then as a prefix, I'm going to give it the name of the project, which in our case is barbart. Yeah, so barbart.shiki.ro. And these are the local variables I've created. Now, you don't have to do this, and for this simple project, you definitely don't have to do this because we're going to reference each of them once. But in a complex project, you kind of want to centralize these variables so that when you want to change one of them, you change them in a single place, and then everywhere they are referenced, the value is going to be propagated again. Okay, so that's why I chose to show you the example like this. Now that we've done this, let's just create the 3 resources we want. And the first one is the resource group. So let's Google resource group. And I've already done that. So you can find here Azure RM resource group, and example usage, and you have the actual code. So I'm going to copy this and paste it under the comment. So Azure resource group, I don't like the name of example, so global RG. Yeah, the name will be local.rg name, and location is fine in West Europe for me. Okay. Then we want to create the Azure Container Registry. So let's go to this one as well. And we can find example code here. Yeah, example usage. I'm copying the code for the Azure Container Registry resource. And let's give the resource reference another name like here. Now for the name property of the Azure Container Registry, we've already calculated that in locals. So it's going to be local.acr name. Now, the resource group name we can actually reference from the actual resource group resource. Yeah, so Azure RM resource group dot global rg dot name, and location Azure RM resource group global rg location. So now you inherit the location of the resource group into the container registry, which is easier for you. SKU, now premium is the best one, and I think it's more expensive, so I want the cheaper option. So I'm going to go with basic here. Admin enabled, I don't care about it right now, so I'm going to leave it with false. And then geo-replication, this one is actually only available for premium SKU, so I cannot use these blocks for basic because I'm a poor guy, right? So I'm going to delete them and leave the resource as is. Okay, and now I just want to create one more resource, which is a DNS zone, yeah, a subdomain. So I searched for this resource as well, yeah, Azure RM DNS zone, and you have an example here. You need a resource group, and then this is your resource. And here we go. I will call it global DNS. Now we already calculated the name, and this is local.dns name. And then resource group name, I'm going to use the same reference as I used here, which is this one. And now my code looks actually decent, and I think we can test it by running Terraform init first. Yeah, so we're initializing Terraform here in this folder. And as you can see here, it's finding my providers and it's installing the Azure RM provider. And we can actually expand this here so you can see it's an actual executable. Yeah, so it downloaded an executable from the Terraform registry and put it in this folder. And this will actually help us work with Azure. Yeah. Then what I also need to do is I need to make sure that I'm on the right subscription. So I'm using AZ CLI for this, AZ account show. And I'm in this subscription right now, and this is where I want to be. But if I wasn't in the right subscription, first you would need to AZ login. I will not do that. Yeah. But once you AZ login, AZ account list output table, and you're able to see all of your subscriptions, and then you choose the subscription ID you want. In my case, it's this one, which I'm already set to, but in order to show you how it's done, I would do AZ account set -s and paste in the subscription ID or the subscription name. And then now I'm still on the same subscription because I chose the same ID, but in your case, you would switch from one subscription context to the other. Okay. So now I'm in the right subscription, Terraform is initialized. The next step is to plan. And Terraform plan will show me as the user what it will try to do with the code that I created. And in here, I'm expecting Terraform to tell me that it's going to create 3 resources for me. Yeah, this is what I would like to see. I would like to see Terraform telling me that it will create a resource group, that it will create a DNS zone and a container registry. And lo and behold, it took a few seconds, but if you scroll up, you will see Terraform will perform the following actions. We'll create Azure Container Registry.global ACR, Azure RM DNS Zone Global DNS, and Azure RM Resource Group Global RG. So it will add 3 resources, nothing to change, nothing to destroy. Okay? And I'm actually okay with this. So it's telling me if you didn't use blah, 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 run Terraform apply now. Okay, so I will run Terraform apply. Now, if you run just Terraform apply, somewhere through the process, Terraform will ask you for validation. So you need to input yes and press enter. If you're doing this in an automated environment like a pipeline, as we're going to do in the future, right now we're doing it locally just so I can show you how it's going to work and you understand the process behind the scenes. But in a few weeks, we're going to create a pipeline for infrastructure as code, and then we want this to run unattended. And in order to do that, you have a special parameter. So you can do this -h, which is help, and you can look at whatever flags you can use. And this is the one we're interested in, yeah, auto approve. So this will skip interactive approval and it will do everything we want. So auto approve, yeah, Terraform apply auto approve, enter. And now I'll fast forward this until the end when the infrastructure is created, and we'll look at what resources got created for us. Okay, so we're back online. The resources were created. We have 3 added resources. So let's check them out in the Azure portal. So opening this one, going home, let's go to resource groups and search for the subscription I was on. And you can see here the resource group called Global RG. Yeah, this is the one we created via Terraform. And if you open it, you will see there's a DNS zone called barbart.shiki.ro in here. And then there's also a Shiki container registry in West Europe as well. Yeah, so this is great. Our resources got created. Now, all I would need to do for everything to be functional is to link this subdomain here, barbart.shiki.ro, to the parent. So if we open DNS zones, you'll see I also have shiki.ro in here, which is a domain I own. And I would need to make this one the child of this one. And in order to do this, I would have to enter shiki.ro, and I would need to add name server entry here. Yeah, a record set of type name server, which would point to the name servers of the child. So I would take these values from here, one by one, okay. And now if I go here in the child and I create, let's say, an A record just to test it, hello would be the name of the record, and the IP address is 10.0.0.3. Okay. Now I created this one. Let's test it out. So I would do a ns lookup for hello.barbart.shiki.ro. And as you can see, it replied with the address that I just configured. So now my subdomain and my parent domain, so the child and the parent domains, are now interconnected. But what I don't like is that I had to manually create this set of records into the parent. So next time, I'm going to show you how we can automate this process too using Terraform, so that we don't have to manually intervene in linking the parent and the child DNS zones. The final beauty of infrastructure as code is that I don't have to keep this infrastructure up and running. I can just destroy everything and recreate it tomorrow. Again, the manual step is a bit of a hindrance because I have to do it every time. But right now I'm destroying the 3 resources that I created so that I don't get charged money for them, yeah, in Azure Cloud. And next time when I will film for the future episode, I'll just recreate them again. And this is great when you're a developer at your own startup or at your own project. You don't want to be charged for infrastructure. You don't want to spend a lot of time for infrastructure. Well, you should Terraform your infrastructure and you go grab a coffee or a tea or whatever. You come back and you'll have your Terraform infrastructure created. Then you use it, and at the end of the day, you just destroy everything, come back tomorrow, recreate again, and you save up a lot of money. So now I'm waiting for my resources to be destroyed. Let's get into the outro of the video. Okay guys, this is it for today. I hope you had fun and you understand how Terraform can be used in order to save time and automate these tedious tasks of creating your own infrastructure whenever you just need it from time to time, and it's not something that has to be up 24/7. I really hope that you can leave me a comment down below if you have any suggestions regarding this video or if you have questions regarding the material presented today, and I'll see you next time in order to automate the linkage between the child and the parent DNS zones. Thank you so much for being here and giving me your time of the day, and I wish you a stellar day ahead of you. Have a good one. Cheers.